Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sangham namasami. This is a center for psychotherapy. So I thought it would be fitting to start with a quote by Carl Jung. And he said, "Those who look outside dream, and those who look inside awaken." What does that mean? If we think in terms of the Buddha's teachings, and what we're doing here is we're looking inside within us for answers. We're spiritual seekers. We're searching for something sensible. How to make sense out of this life, this body-mind connection, this world that we live in. We've spent our lives looking outside for the answers, but we haven't found them. Anybody here find the answer outside? And we get easily lost in the dream of the world. And we discover through looking in a path, a way through the thicket, through the jungle of the mind's entanglements. And when we penetrate through that undergrowth and begin to see what is really there, then we wake up little by little. We peel away layers of delusion and start to see reality and truth in a way with eyes that never could see that way before. And I think that's why many of us are here today. It's almost as if somebody had passed this little note around or sent it across the oceans in bottles. And it's landed on many beaches and many people have found it. And they say these same words. I was lost. I was confused. And then I started to do this practice, and I felt as if I was coming home. As if the answers were suddenly handed to me. I've heard those words over and over again. The Buddha didn't write that as a script. This is what you should say when you finally start to get some joy from the practice. This is just what people experience. Has anyone here experienced that? A lot. So what is this coming home? And how come the world doesn't do it for us? It's simply because the truth lies within us. And coming home is like coming back to the place from which we began. So we come full circle. And then we find ourselves sitting in the middle of the circle. We're sitting in the middle of what is true. We're sitting in the very space where we can touch the truth, we can bring it to life, and we can open our eyes and find real peace, real happiness. But in the beginning, we think that that's an easily won victory. And then when we return to the cushion, and we keep coming back to practice, we find that it's not so easy. It's like climbing a mountain. The lower slopes of the mountain, you can get up them pretty quickly. You might even, as a beginner, have insights that are a facsimile, a close cousin, or even a copy of what advanced meditators experience. And then you spend years trying to repeat it, and it doesn't. It's like something happened, something dropped down and stood in your way. But that's not really what's happened at all. It's just that a glimpse gives us the taste, and then we want more. And the wanting mind can never be satisfied with what it had before. It has to be new and a little more exciting. We remember it as something so astonishing because it's like when you fall in love. Then after a few months, what you fell in love with looks tarnished and faded, and it doesn't make you happy anymore. Well, what's changed? You start to know the path or know the terrain a little better, and it's rocky. You're looking at it more closely. When you look from a distance or at first glance, you don't see everything that you need to see. You don't see all the obstacles to sustaining that glimpse. You don't notice the work, the effort that you need to return there and remove all the dross and lack of refinement in life, in ourselves, in how we live. When we return, we have to start where we left off and work very, very hard to undo all the tangles that we're in. So taking precepts is a wonderful way to begin. Like when anybody here ever sail a boat? You live on Lake Ontario. I'm sure there's a few sailors in your midst. Yeah. So when I was 21, that's a very long time ago, I sailed across the Atlantic Ocean in a sailboat with 3 other people. And when we first set sail, it was so much excitement. It was a fantasy kind of dream. I'd been sailing for a few years and I dreamt about sailing across the Atlantic. Oh, mouth-watering dream. And then there we were on the boat. Everything was neatly organized. The galley, the equipment, our shoes, everything was clean and tidy and neat. The boat was in good shape. And we were all on very good terms. And there we were going to set sail into the great wide ocean on a sunny day. Everybody's smiling, my parents waving goodbye. They were terrified. What was going to happen? Would she ever come back, drown in that big body of water? The first few days was like that. And then you get farther and farther away out into the ocean, and things start to happen. There starts to be weather. Weather systems move in. At one point we were actually sailing, I think we started motoring at that point, to escape a hurricane, because we were sailing out of Florida. Things got very precarious, and we found ourselves in very dangerous, very gigantic waves, and we were losing parts of the boat, like pieces of equipment were getting washed into the ocean. We couldn't recover them because we completely lost control of the ship. We were just at the mercy of the waves. We were all sick to our stomachs, couldn't eat. I had my face down in the loo at one point, just vomiting and thinking, I'm going to die right here. We're going to all die. We're going to sink. It couldn't have been a more freaky, frightening experience. But when I actually articulated those words and realized the gravity of the predicament, I thought, I'm going to disappear into the ocean, and it'll be like the blink of an eye. No one will even notice. This this little boat, which is our only place of rescue and safety, is just going to disappear with all of us in it. Of course, we didn't die, because I'm still here. But it was such an earth-shattering moment. It made me realize the fragility of life. And it made me appreciate being alive even though I was on my knees vomiting. Couldn't hold anything in. Couldn't even stand up without holding on. And we didn't know what would be next. It was a very frightening way of being alive, but even that much life was so precious, I certainly didn't want to lose it. And the thought of losing it and disappearing in the universe like the blink of an eye made me realize how insignificant I was, how tiny, how nothing, that my whole world was just nothing. My mind and the world that I carried in my mind was nothing. And I experienced a great sense of the vastness of everything and the insignificance of every life, every thought, every mind, every being in this whole universe. What are we? Just a blink. Even our life, never mind if you're on a boat or you're not on a boat. So it made me reconsider the meaning of it all very deeply. And then the boat gained its balance, the waves subdued a bit, the storm passed, or we got far enough away from it, it was going in a different direction. We were able to put our sails up, we were able to heat up some food and eat something and restore some normality and continue our voyage, eventually landing safely in Europe. Navigating by the stars, what a wonderful way to understand suddenly that there is something very profound about consciousness and awareness and our ability to endure and survive and touch something much greater than ourselves. And it's nowhere else but within us. It's not outside of us. It took a raging storm and a very dangerous predicament to intensely experience the fragile beauty of this life and to hold it and treasure it in a way I never had before, not to take it for granted, and to set some goals for myself, some standards for myself about how I wanted to live my life and how I wanted to direct it. It took me some time to implement those, but that was a very important time. I'm telling you this story to try to breathe a sense of urgency into our awareness of what we are and what we're doing on this planet. Our whole existence as human beings is becoming more and more precarious, generation by generation. I think that we had high hopes and high dreams. I think higher values in many ways. It seems like the world is more and more sold out, vacant. And people are searching desperately for values and sanctity, sanctuary. It is a very good time to wake up. It's as if there's a storm of danger around us. It may be really that we're at the precipice of a great awakening and the great potential for that. The more that we look outside for the answers, the more we realize that we won't find them that way. And many people have been searching outside for so long now that the world just looks and feels exhausting. And that's why there are so many books now about mindfulness and about meditation and about ways to find peace. Many different formulae being offered because people want that more than anything. Instead of looking at the danger and getting worked up into a lather, worked up into a frenzy or a fear, see the danger and look inward for the sanctuary, because it is within that we will wake up. We can't wake the world up, but we can awaken our minds. We can do that, each of us. And if each of us does that, then we create a wave of awakening in this world. Rather than waiting for the world to wake up and get a good government or something like that. Because then, that'll last for 4 years and then something else will happen. For better or worse, it's temporary. Because the world is like that. The world has the nature to be full of greed, hatred, and deluded. That's basically the nature of the world. That's because the world runs on those foibles of the human mind and is not dedicated to, not inclining towards nibbana, enlightenment, the ultimate purification. It runs on ignorance and is fed by ignorance. And it is a dangerous place. But there is also something within this world which enables waking up, and that is suffering itself. The suffering of this world brings us to the desire for non-suffering. And it is in the middle of the storm that we will find it. It is not where there is no suffering. I think that's what Young meant when he said, those who look outside dream, but those who look within wake up. So if you don't think you've been living in a dream, just look within and you'll realize where the truth is. And that's what we'll be doing this weekend. Just looking within and trying to clarify and straighten our views and notice more clearly when we're going off the path and getting back on. Staying on. Switching on and staying switched on. That's the gist of the work. It takes incredible commitment and consistency. Once a week is not enough. Even 6 days a week is not enough. If you have time to eat every day, you have time to meditate every day. You have time to commit to finding that sanctuary and not being fooled anymore by what beautiful things you can find in the shopping malls or on the internet. What beautiful experiences you can have by traveling to distant lands and having exciting adventures. Right here in your own heart is the greatest adventure of your heart, of your life. The greatest adventure possible. It's the inner pilgrimage. It's moving from our intellect to our intuitive understanding. No one else can do this for us. We have to do it ourselves. We can't be lazy. in this work. It doesn't happen that way. The cushion is step one, and then we have to get up and go back into the world and take what we learn on the cushion into our daily life and apply it there. You can't buy an app that will do it for you. That won't work. That's the one thing your phone will not give you. Yeah, in fact, your phone might die. So how can we trust these things? Why do we trust something that's really trustworthy? It hasn't been manufactured by anyone else. It's not devised. It's not a device. It's intuitive understanding. It comes from the fabric of our own mind, to be experienced here and now directly by the wise. It cannot be destroyed. To discover that truth, it's to know that truth beyond death. It's an unshakable, universal, everlasting truth that cannot be diminished or decreased or increased. It's changeless, sublime, unborn, uncreated, undying. And that's the illumination of the mind that we all can experience. So let us make haste in that direction.